Nicholas, Norman.
We're good to go.
All right, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube, and just want to thank everybody for joining us. And if you'd like to hit the share button, get the word out. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and do that now. And we'd love to hear from you. And then maybe somebody on here can catch the chats on the YouTube and Facebook. I can't do it while I'm on my laptop this way, but anyway, we're gonna have a good discussion today. I'm looking forward to the topic. Last week we got into it a little bit. We got into a little bit of Are You God? So that was the blog that I put out, quite a little bit lengthier blog than I usually put out. But I also put out a video blog. And rather than me sit here and teach and share, I'm going to play that video. Some of you may have already seen it. It's on YouTube. I don't know if I even put it on Facebook, but it is on YouTube. So I'm going to start driving any video traffic back over to YouTube. I'm going to be not spending as much time on Facebook. And if you are on Facebook, I am going to be focusing my time on the the page, the Gil Hodges Freedom page, and do most of my, just put personal stuff on my personal profile. So if you want to keep up with what's going on and have an idea of what events and so forth are coming up, go to the Facebook page, which is Gil Hodges Freedom page, and or get signed up on the newsletter. That's even a better way. Get on the newsletter, and you'll get something each week that'll share with you what is going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and let me see if I can get it set up here correctly. There we go, I think. And you guys will have, oh, Larry, you're going to have to enable the screen sharing since I made you host. If you don't mind going in and making it so I can share. Forgot about that since I made you host. Good to see everyone, Janine and Sonia and Sheila and Nicholas and Jeanette and Ginger and John.
Hello, everyone.
Larry, blessings. All right, let me see if I can share this now. There we go. All right. I'm going to share this. So first of all, let me know if you guys can see my screen. You see it?
Yes.
Give me a thumbs up. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and play it. And hopefully this will come through loud and clear. Here we go. Oh, and I ran into this earlier. I'm not sure why it does this. Okay, give me a second. I'm not sure. Seem to have lost the video, but I know where it's at. And if that doesn't work, then we'll skip it. All right, can you still see the screen? Should be about to come on here. It's a black screen at the moment. All right, well, maybe we got a technical difficulty on this side. It's funny because I played it like 3 times earlier to make sure it was going to work. But it, oh.
Are you playing something, Gil? Because we can't hear anything.
Oh, that's what I put in the thing. Okay, that's interesting. I don't.
At least I can.
Yeah, that's what I
I
put in
don't
the
think
chat. I
anybody
was
can.
asking. I'm going to try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, we're going to skip it. Here we go. All right, can you see
You
it?
have to share your screen and the
There it
audio.
is.
You can see it now. All right,
You
now
can see a
I
picture of
can't
you
see
on the
anything, so you're
screen.
going to all have to give me let me know if you can hear it when I hit this. So here we go. Hello, everyone.
You're on.
Gil Hodges Freedom. I want to talk with you today about probably the most provocative question you'll ever encounter on your spiritual journey. Are you God? Now, before you close this video or think that I've gone off the deep end, I want to sit with this question just for a moment, because your reaction to it, whether it's excitement, fear, anger, or curiosity, that reaction is actually revealing something really important about the programming that you're carrying. See, I believe the real question isn't whether claiming divinity is blasphemous. The real question is, has the belief in your separation from God been the ultimate form of control? And what happens when you finally break free from that matrix? Now, in my book, Breaking Your Matrix, I talk about how we've all been programmed with beliefs that run like invisible software in the background of our lives. These programs shape everything. They shape how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, and especially how we understand our relationship with God. Now, for most of us, the programming around God started at a very young age. We learned that God is up there somewhere, right? Distant, watching, judging. We learned that we're sinners, unworthy, separated. We learned we need intermediaries like priests and pastors and institutions to reach that divine status to where we can actually communicate. We can't do it ourselves, right? But here's what I've discovered. That programming served a purpose. If you're one with God, you can't be controlled, right? And if you have direct access to the divine wisdom, you don't need someone else to tell you what to think or believe. If you recognize your own divine nature, you stop giving your power away to external authorities. So think about that for a moment. Who benefits from you believing you're separated from God? Who benefits from thinking that you need their approval, their interpretation, their permission to access the divine? Now, before you think that this is just a New Age philosophy, let me take you to some scripture. Jesus himself quoted from Psalm 82, verse 6. He said, "You are gods, not you could be someday or not. You'll be gods in heaven." He said, "You are gods." Now, one participant in our weekly gathering, and everybody's welcome to that, by the way. You can join us every Sunday morning, 11:30 online, said this very beautifully. If we are his children, that means that we have his DNA. So think about that for a moment. You carry divine DNA, and everything God is exists potentially within you. The limitation isn't in your design, it's in your programming, in the agreements that you've made with unworthiness and separation. So one of the most powerful statements I heard at the gathering was from Larry. He said, "I'm not walking towards God. I'm actually God walking the earth." Now, again, that may sound blasphemous, but as you begin to understand what we're talking about here, you begin to see the reality and the truth of all of this. So when people first hear that, they sometimes, there's a knee-jerk reaction, right? It's like, that's arrogant. That's just prideful. But is it? Or is it the real arrogance believing that God made a mistake with you? That somehow you're the one exception to the divine perfection? So here's what I've learned. True recognition of divine nature doesn't create arrogance. It actually creates compassion. Because when you recognize God in yourself, you simultaneously recognize God in everyone else. You can't harm another person when you see them as divine. You can't judge when you recognize they're on the same journey as you are, their own divine journey. And as one participant also shared, when you grasp that you're looking into the face of God with every person you meet, that changes everything. That changes how you treat people. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. And this is what I mean by breaking your matrix. It's not about becoming something you're not, it's about finally seeing what you've always been. It's about recognizing that the kingdom of God is within you because you are the kingdom. All right, well, not sure why the video's not playing. It just stopped right there in the middle. But there's enough there to work with, right? Let me get back to here. All right, so we can start there. We'll just take off from that. That was about half of it. So go ahead, John.
So if we say we're walking towards God, that means we believe in separation.
Ah,
Because I believe it's impossible to walk towards God because God is everything. God is in everything. So if I say I'm walking towards God, then I'm walking in delusion. Because God is right here.
yeah, yeah.
He's expressing himself through JW, John Reeves.
Right.
And
And it's an interesting concept, and it's what's really interesting too is as I got into uh, someone sent me something online. Like I said, I hardly ever read stuff, but I was prompted to read what this person sent to me, and it was actually something that somebody else wrote. And so I went to that person's um, post, and I posted on there my response. And anyway, the whole thing was where I'm standing at, where I'm looking at things is that we tend to, it's human nature. We tend to go black and white, right? Right and wrong. And so it's either dualism or non-dualism. But what if it's both and or neither? and so what I did is I just went through this process of recognizing exactly what you're talking about. That yeah, we got to be careful that we don't put God out there. So if we're walking toward God, if we're moving toward God, if we're calling God to come, Holy Spirit, come. What'd you just say? Holy Spirit's out there somewhere, right? But when we begin to understand that, no, we are one, and I used two different analogies, the ocean and the wave. The wave is distinct, and it's energy, right? But it is also the ocean. It's not different than the ocean. So, because if we go to non-dualism so strict, then there's really no participation anymore. There's no relationship, because if you're absolutely 100% one, there's no participation. There's no you and me. There's just us. And yet here we are. And here's the reality that we're actually living in at the moment, unless it's a total delusion. But in this moment, in this reality, we have a relationship because you're there, I'm here, and we're communicating. But yet, we're of the same energy, the same fabric of the universe, the same love, which is God. And so it's one in both. And I'm with you. We got to watch our language, that we're not putting God out there somewhere that we can't access. It's really good.
Like you can say, part of God is out there because everything out there is God and everything right here is God.
Yeah.
So it's just like saying the earth. Like those mountains behind me, that's the earth, but it's not all of the earth.
Exactly.
It's
It's an
not United
expression.
States. It's not all of Canada. It's just
Yeah.
Silver Star Mountain. That's it.
Yeah. So it's one
But it can't be
expression
separate.
of the
It's not
earth.
separate from the rest of the world, rest of
Yeah.
the earth. It's part and parcel, just like we are, like fractals of God. We're just a little piece of God.
And that's it.
But we're still God.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, even the building behind you, that's a fractal. It's a portion of the earth. It's still made of the earth, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it's still made of the fabric of the universe. It's
Came out of the
it's
earth.
all of the same. So in that
Came out of
sense,
the earth.
we are God, And it's like, I think we talked about it last week. We are God. God's having a Larry experience. He's
Yeah.
having each one of us a Ginger experience, a Vanessa
All at the
experience.
same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Like billions of people. He's having God experiences through 8 billion people at the same time.
Yeah, it's good. All right, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like that distinction of saying if it was just oneness, then it would just be God spending time with himself. And that's not at all what's happening. So yeah. And so yesterday or last week's word was walking. This week's work. Oh my goodness. This week's word was dwelling. And it really was pretty much the same kind of concept. Was we're not waiting for his presence to come, right? Which we've again gone through that in the past church experience. And really the Bible talks about it was he would visit. There were visitations from the Holy Spirit back in the day with the prophets and stuff, but then they would leave, right? But then it dwelled in Christ. And so today's what I wanted to, I've lost my main thought. Oh well, I'll stop because I don't. That just the idea. I'll stop with this. Is that there was it's very much oneness, but it's with him. There is the only separation I think is wrapped around relationship, right? Being one with another. Oh, I know. We are each a universe within ourselves, but we're walking within a universe of God. So we can't be outside of that because and then even though I'm one universe, my universe chooses to spend time with these people that are right here, or the people in my neighborhood, or whatever, because they too have a universe and they too have choices, and they've chosen to live in this neighborhood, or they've chosen again, that brings back that choice is very powerful within this. And one last, the fractal flow. We are fractals of the whole, but that fractal is made up of the same, and you were just saying it, that fractal is made up of the same particles, the same stuffs that the whole is. And actually the whole creation, again, that's a scientific thing, but we're all made up of very similar fractal flows, fractions of pieces of different things. That's why the Fibonacci sequence and different things in nature show up consistently in creation, because we're all made of the same stuffs. And that's where I'll stop.
Yeah. That's good. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on this. There's a lot of different trails we can go down. And next week's blog, next week's topic will kind of be on some of what I shared already. But it's just there's two ditches you can fall in if you're not careful. And just remind me about the two ditches, the two ditches of non-dualism and the ditch of dualism, because each one has its ditch that you can fall into, and we tend to stop at those ditches and we don't go any further. But I'll talk about them in a minute. But Ginger, go ahead so I don't go off on another.
And
topic
just a
here.
couple of things, but on the oneness and the grounding, and I want to find out more about that from Sandy that she mentioned, because that's a big part of what I was doing too at the Pearl, is finding different modes and frequencies and modalities to ground myself, body, soul, and spirit. And so I'd like to have Sandy maybe talk on a talk, please, and go over, what that really means to ground one with nature. How does that feed us? How does that give us nutrients? How does that ground us? So that's a question on the table. And then the other one, in my experience with Holy Spirit and opening myself to connecting and partnering into more freedom and wholeness. And I was thinking about it after I left the Pearl, because we were talking about dreams, and Nicholas asked what's a recurring dream that you've had? Because most of my dreams are very grounding. They're very symbolic and giving me direction or warning me. Those have been very specific and significant in my life. But his question was, what have you had that's been reoccurring? The only really reoccurring dream was when the Lord would show me in different symbolic means and settings. The biggest thing that the enemy tries to rob from us is our identity. And so like I'd have a purse in the wallet, it would be stolen. I'd be in the World's Fair and you know, my purse was left back at the booth and it's the world setting and you know, and you go back to get your purse and it's this clown with his eyes like I said, I want my purse back. And he goes, and I've got many more. So, I mean, to me, there's a threat of stealing our identity and us never waking up to the reality of who we really are. And to me, that's the mystery unfolding in the times that we're living in. We're being awakened to who we really, really are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And you know that and when we talk about identity, you know, it's sometimes I feel like we can get so wrapped up in our individual identity that, you know, it's like the ego really struggling and fighting to hold on to who I am. I've got to have my distinction. And in some ways there's nothing wrong with that, but in other ways when that becomes the battle, I think we get misaligned because we are who we are. It's like God is God. You know, I say that often. It's like, let God be God because he's God no matter what you're going to do or think. He's going to be God and he's going to do what is necessary to, you know, run the universe and bring us to where he wants us to be. But but for me to fight for my identity is basically saying to the universe that I feel like my identity is even being threatened. Can it really be threatened? Or is it the ego's identity of the world? You know, the world has given me an identity. The world has given me these kudos. The world has given me whatever, whatever, whatever. And that's what I think we wind up fighting for, trying to reserve that. And we also sometimes are fighting to, if anything, fighting to let the ego go or fighting to get through the ego so that we can get to who we truly are. And who we truly are underneath everything is not going to change. Now, while we're here, we could be deceived and sidetracked from who we truly are, I believe, but it honestly is never really going to change. And once, you know, we get to the other side of the veil, or however you want to look at that, once we transition, I believe a lot of the deception and the darkness that really makes it hard for us to see who we really are, um, it is it's you know it's going to be diminished anyway, so that we can more easily see who we actually are. So
And so I just want to respond to that. And I can't remember who said it, but we are a spirit being living in a body having a human experience. And so I believe that we are a spirit being, and a lot of people don't know that we're a spirit being.
yeah, yep, yep. And you know, this 3D realm, I believe, is a temporary one. You know, temporary could be zillions of years, who knows? But um, you know, I think this is something that is we're beyond what we see and feel and sense here. This is one aspect of a creation of God, and that there are infinite creations. So anyway, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to pick up that identity thing real quickly. I shared this, I think probably was just Saturday or Friday in our meeting. But I was speaking to my mom, and I noticed when my dad passed that my mom was a kind of a different person. There was a side, I think it's kind of easier to say a side of her that I hadn't seen, because there is an identity that we create with that person, particularly a husband and wife, right? We become one. We are an example of that. And I think that same example goes with father, right? The more time we spend with him, the more we act like him, or Christ consciousness, all of that. But I just felt that that was interesting, that of course my whole life I only knew my mom as a partner with my father, right? And then when he passed, and it's been 10 years now, it was like, you know what, mom, you didn't talk like that before, or you never mentioned this before. And it was interesting just to see that I think the aspects that, again, I think there's nothing bad about it. It was just, we are mutable and beautiful, right? We mutate into each other, but we also are a beautiful thing of ourselves. And she had to learn that again, because, and I'll stop at that, is that her security, her self awareness of her security was based around my dad. And when he wasn't there anymore, she felt uncomfortable going to groups that she had gone to her, my whole life, in the sense of, for 20 or 30 years, we'll put it, that she was now uncomfortable. And it's like, because her security was absolutely wrapped up into the fact that my father was standing there next to her. And when that goes away, all of a sudden she had to find that, you know what, I have a strength within myself to know that I am fine. I can drive, I can, whatever, all these different identities that we have. But our identities do, I think, change and mutate with the people that we're with, good and bad. Right? There is the good people we hang with and the bad people. So but I can't wait to hear what Gil has to say. I'm so glad my friend is showing up. And so good to see you, Sheila, first off. But go ahead, Gil.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Okay, well, I'll try not to dominate. I've got a whole lot to say, a lot of ideas on this, because I've struggled with the struggle. And my struggle boiled down to in joining unity consciousness, that I would lose myself, that I'd be gone. It would just be one, I'd be part of the blob. I'm all over that now. The biggest thing that helped me was when I started having meetings with other beings within unity consciousness. Then I realized that self-awareness persists. So let's go back to identity. My husband was sharing with me this morning our amazing language and how our words are really trying to catch our attention. Like he says, when we say somebody's really dense, it's like they're in a lower density, greater materiality, and when you say lighten up, you mean bring more light into you, and it's literal. Well, identity, I was shown, is a dent in the eye. And the eye is the window to the soul, of course. So what is the dent all about? When you see a dent, it's like, wait a minute, something's wrong there in the surface. You see a dent, doesn't quite belong there. What happened to the beautiful spherical part? We got a dent. The identity, me, in the dent. So then I started asking, okay, well, explain to me about this. Well, of course, in 3D, naturally, we're in survival mode. We have to have the ego to stay alive. We need all that to exist here because it is so dense. Without it, we would perish. So, all right, so I get that. I need ego to stay alive here, but I can work on getting less and less ego. So I sent my ego to the university. I actually took my ego. I told him he had to take classes. It was a him, by the way. And to learn to not be so much in control of everything, to maintain my dent, see? So, because the ego wants to keep the dent because then it knows who it is. So anyway, I don't know if this is making sense, but these are things that I've been musing about. And then I began to realize more and more about the I, and of course, the will, our self-awareness. And what's this all about? It's Father gave us free will. He's waiting for us of our own volition, for our will to line up with his will, but he's never going to force that. It's like you can't force a lover to come to you. What good would that? That wouldn't feel very good, but when you're on your own. So to me, it's about my will lining up with his will. Yeah. That's my primary intention, for my will to line with his. Then I don't need a dent anymore to be. Right. Then I can mesh. And at that point, when I go into unity consciousness, I'm still there, so I can pull out and talk with others that are doing the same. So I guess I don't want to dominate, so I don't want to say much more, but I wanted to at least share that because I'm identifying very strongly with the hassle. And it is like, well, geez, what happens? What if I just, what if my self-awareness dissolves? But I don't think it
Right.
will.
Right. I agree with you. I think we're, again, like John using the analogy of the mountain in the background, that's an expression of the earth. A wave is an expression of the ocean. It's all energy that is being, um, it's almost as a, I use the word a lot, confined energy. It's like the ocean is confining itself
Mhm.
into a space and a place where it becomes a wave, and it does something. It's got energy there. Um, so you and me and every other living thing, we are all expressions of the same divine source that has created all things. And this is the joy of God, I think, to be able to express, you know, to be able to express himself in and through us, but allowing us to have agency, choice. Like you said, he doesn't force it. What I talked about early on in my book Choice is that it's very, a God of love could do no other than to create with freedom, because without freedom there can be no love. And so for him to create everything with the ability to choose to love, not be forced, because then it's no longer love. That's not love, that's programming. But the world wants to program us to be like whatever it wants us to be. And Jesus said, I overcame the world. So for us, we too have to overcome the world. We have to overcome that programming in order to allow the true identity of who God created us to be to come out. Because otherwise we're covered with all that junk, all the trauma, all the, teachings, the American dream, got to have a big house, nice car, lots of money. Otherwise you don't measure up. We're chasing our tails. We are chasing our tails trying to measure up to the world. And yet, when we can slow down and stop and realize, wait a minute, I'm more than this. There's more to the world and the universe than chasing my tail, trying to measure up to what the world wants me to do. And that's what the world's going to do. It's going to cause you to chase your tail. That's why I've said I believe 2026 is the year where people are going to go one way or the other. If they keep chasing all the knowledge, all the output of all the information that's coming out of who knows where for what, that it's going to inundate people, and they're just chasing their tail versus turning inward and going deep inside to where God's already given you your identity. You don't have to fight for it. It's already there. And as I was going to share earlier, the two ditches, when we go extreme into dualism, then you have the person who's crying out for God to come and help them, come save them, come and do all these things for me. That's the extreme of dualism. Is I pray because I have no power. I pray out to this God who's outside of me, and I hope and pray that he comes and does something for me. That's one of the extremes of dualism. However, the other extreme of non-dualism is that I am one with everything, therefore nothing matters, and I'm done. It takes out agency there too, because now I have no purpose in choosing anything, because I'm just one and everything is what it is. And that's the extreme of non-dualism. Then the extreme of dualism is I have no power and I have no agency. I have to rely on something else. So coming to the middle ground and realizing that I am a piece and a part of the fullness of God, which is everywhere and everything, and I have been given agency, and God gave it to me so that in a sense I could give it back to him. And that's like that old saying, if you love something, set it free. If it's meant to be yours, it'll come back. If it loves you, it'll come back. And it's like God set us all free. And in the end, I believe everybody and everything will come back to him, because that is what he has, his love does not fail. And we are not going to outlast his love, even though we may choose. And it's something I put in the first chapter of the book, is that he's given you the right and the ability to actually resist him. God has given you the right and the ability to resist him forever. But will you? That's the question. but will you? Because if you could actually outwill God and continue to resist him for eternity, I think that would actually make you stronger than God. So I don't think that's going to actually happen. His love will pursue you, and he will win you over, no matter how long it takes. And that's not, that's not a threat. That's simply just an understanding of the power of love. And who doesn't, in their right mind, want to be won over with love? So, John, go ahead.
Even Gil, if I may call you on this, you are using separation language by saying it'll come back to you from God. So when we talk like that, we're actually putting God out there and us here. If we do something, it'll come back to us from God. So
yeah, that was the old saying I was repeating. That's an old saying I remember seeing, probably like 5 or 10 years old, and had a little plaque sitting on my dresser that said, "If you love something, set it free. If it's meant to be yours, it'll come back."
right.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd
Yep.
point that out because
Yeah.
our language is kind of subtle, and sometimes we
Oh,
don't realize that we're actually speaking separation language, but it's so ingrained in
yeah.
us that it comes off naturally. Well, we think it's naturally, but that's what
Yeah.
we've been programmed to do.
Yeah. Nicholas and I talk about this quite a bit at the Pearl as well. He catches me on it quite a bit. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Hey there. Yeah, hold on, let me shut this door on these chickens real quick. I was that comment that you made about that line of thinking where you say, "Hey, will you outlast God?" and will you? It made me think of when people are doing shadow work, and let's say, just from your human perspective here, there's a part of you that is in the shadows, an area taboo, something you don't talk about, something you don't like about yourself or whatever. And it's like, imagine kind of the metaphor. You're, in a sense, in your human perspective here, you're kind of God. And there's a part of you that's out there in the shadows, in the same way that there's God that we're talking about in this conversation. And then we're the fractal of God kind of hanging out in the shadows, like resisting God. I want to be a part of God. I don't want to submit. But how long can I resist? And so it just struck me as one of those metaphors as we're doing personal integrative work and we're going after those shadows. How much do we try to either avoid our shadows and we just say, all right, we kind of abandon them and let them go off and be orphaned kids, or do we chase after them and make them submit? You're going to fit in the box of who I am. Or do we do that middle thing of just being patient and saying, all right, shadow self, are we ready to talk? Am I ready to talk with you? Are you ready to talk with me? And then finally you integrate that part and pull it back into yourself to become kind of a more complete God version of yourself.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually some of the work I've been doing on myself lately. Just recognizing some of those parts, and it's interesting that as you were speaking, just the language of the idea that I can have a shadow part that is resisting. Period. It's like if I can have a shadow part that is resisting. Period. Then I can have a shadow part that can resist for however long I want it to. You would think, right? And so it's like that alone is proof that we have choice. God has given us this choice. And it's like, if he's given you the choice in the first place, why in the world would he come back later on and say, okay, I'm tired of you having choice, I'm just going to program you to do what I want? For me, that doesn't make any sense, especially with a God who's eternal, and where time, I would think is not, it's kind of irrelevant to him, that he would be able to just wait, patiently wait, as we would wait on ourselves and be kind to ourselves, when we're integrating pieces and parts, in a sense. I call them agreements, because nothing has any power in our lives. I don't believe it has any power in our lives unless we agree with it. When we agree with it, we empower it. We give it focus, we give it energy. So the same thing that somebody might call parts, I would call agreements. And I think they're one of the same. But Yeah, so it's like if I empowered something to keep me safe when I was a kid because I didn't understand and I needed it to keep me safe, well, that thing is going to continue operating until I say, hey, I don't need that anymore. I'm coming out of agreement with that. And I want you, that agreement now to come back in, and that energy becomes a part and a piece and a whole with me. And now that same energy that was out there doing that thing now gets to come inside and do that same thing, but from a peace and a place, and when I say peace, from a place of peace in me that I believe has the ability to express itself in a much more wholesome way. Maxine, go ahead.
Yes, I don't think shadows are all bad. Um, I cannot quote the scripture, a shadow of things to come. And in Psalms, it talks about God being in the clouds and living in the
Darkness.
darkness. So the thing is, it could be a shadow, but is it really covering up negative stuff that we really don't want to go into? I mean, there might be something really good, because if we're the same shadow as God is, he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So there is positive things about the shadow. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's good. Good points. So, Larry, go ahead. Thanks, Maxine.
Yeah, so between Nicholas's shadow work and what Maxine just said, I was thinking after Nicholas that, okay, so is this where Lucifer comes in? Is that God doing a little shadow work? We are talking about us becoming God, and Lucifer, was so-called punished for declaring himself a God. I think it fits with our topic. I don't want to make it a negative, thing going all back to our old church age. And I don't know if I have a real new revelation of the Lucifer experience, but I do think it's important. I think there is something there that we could discuss. But there is, just like what Maxine said, there's reasons for shadows and clouds, and a lot of times it's for protection that I've experienced so far or been learning. But and even with ourselves, that shadow work, the reason there are those broken parts out there is because at some point we created it to be a protection layer, right?
Right.
I think that's very,
Yeah.
very common in trauma psychology and stuff. But yeah, I'll just stop it there. I may spend a little time doing a little chat GPT for a second when I hear some of the others talk, but I think there is the Luciferian idea. Again, I don't want to create the idea that there's Lucifer is doing good things here on the earth, but what is it that we need, or that God needed, or God wanted, or expressed a thing of Lucifer that wanted to be like him, but how can we be like him and somehow do it wrong? And that's what Lucifer experienced. So again, I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that. And
Yeah, and for me, thinking in those terms, I look at just the fact that again, God's greatest sacrifice was that He created this universe. He created this universe knowing that there would be beings that would go against Him, and that nearly, I mean, every single one of us have gone against Him to one degree or another. And to me, you know,
breakfast, honey.
Lucifer just apparently was maybe one of the first ones that took that
Definitely got a little
opportunity
hot,
to
but
choose something different. But anyway, Ginger, go ahead.
So to me, as far as integration, wholeness, it's all a journey. It's all part of it. Identification is part of it for me. And so is integration, the parts that have been separate. It's two different perspectives, two different areas that I've received healing in. It's like the Lion King. And that was so prophetic to me because it was like, this is who you are. and someone called him into who he was. He had to hear that voice and the mirror and see who was in him. And then he had the roar, and then he was able to stand his ground, and then he was able, I mean, it was so, to me, that's identity awakening as far as who we are, the God in us. And then the other parts, as far as the integration, is, taking off the grave clothes, putting on a new coat, taking off the grave clothes. It's part of letting go. It's part of choice. It's part of letting go. It's part of understanding. It's part of like psychology. When you saw, could you see that one picture? It's in all the psychology books. Did you see the wicked witch, or did you see the princess? Right? And then I could see both. If you look into that picture, I could see the wicked nose, but then I could back off and I could see the Cinderella. And it's like, what are you seeing in yourself? Maybe that's part of the
Yeah.
shadow. Who are you
Yeah.
seeing right now? And so to me, it's a part of letting go. It's a part of being aware of it, right? And putting on the right clothes. I
Yeah.
am God. I am putting on my affirmations. I am. I am part of the great I am. I am good. I'm not bad. I am good. And so those are part of putting on taking off the grave clothes, being aware of who you really are, saying those affirmations, dislodging the lies that I'm bad. And
Yeah.
so it's all a part of us really evolving into the God who is good and kind and holy, and that purpose that we have, that divinity to bring that balance and life and wellness and love to all of creation. And so Gil even had a personal experience. I love nature, and it's calling out to us. It truly is. And so
Yeah.
on the property, I saw, what was it, Gil? What kind of tree is it? A magnolia?
Yes.
A, but in midst of all this deadness, right? And the dirt, there's this beautiful magnolia tree with the leaves are green, 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 and growing straight and tall, taller than the other trees. And I just noticed it and I just loved it. And that's a part of who I am. I'm growing taller and more beautiful and becoming, allowing myself to be revealed. There you go.
Yeah. I love that. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And that's the thing when the programming is likely to keep you seeing things that aren't necessarily true, right, real, or best for you. The programming, it's like I grew up most of my life hating myself because the programming I'd been given told me to hate myself, told me that I was worthless and no good. And so that programming, I eventually had to wake up and choose to let go, to let that programming go, that I no longer needed to look at myself that way, but that I could see myself for who God truly made me, and to love myself for the way God made me, and not let that programming tell me otherwise. And it's not necessarily a cakewalk or an overnight thing. It's not at all. It can be, something that goes on for a while, but you each one of us are going to have to approach it differently. And for me, the approach was getting downright kind of mean and nasty, coming at the stuff and saying, hell no, you're not having any more real estate time in my brain. and telling it off. And that's what was necessary for me. And there's a lot of people that are still so caught up in their programming of holiness, fake holiness and fake righteousness, of goodness, and what it means to look like a good Christian or a good holy person or whatever, that they don't allow themselves the ability and the strength to come forth, to come out and say, to hell with that old programming. I'm not standing for it anymore. I'm stepping out. It's like they're not willing to do that, and they remain in it. So now other people, they can take other paths and other routes, and they don't have to go that strong maybe. But I'm telling you, you got to do what you got to do to get rid of the old programming, because it will tell you something other than what you are. And it'll get you focused and get you chasing your tail. I guarantee you 2026, with so much AI stuff coming out, people who are putting out stuff, whether it's good or right. And I'm telling you too, be aware of the containers and the frameworks that are being built. I don't know that I personally don't know that we need new frameworks and new containers. We keep, a container is like a box. You just put it in another thing so that now you got more corners, more edges, more boundaries versus being free and not letting yourself get caught up into another box, container, dogma, whatever. And I don't care, what it is. I'm not talking about just Christianity. I'm not talking about just any religious box. I'm not, we got scientific religion. We've got galactic, religion. You name it. There, everybody and anybody can get caught up in a dogma of anything that they're following. All I'm saying is let that stuff go and just be free to flow with what God's doing. Look to see what he's doing and do that. And don't get caught up with another, this person said this, now I got to follow that. This person said this, now I got to follow that. It's like, let it go. Let it go and look for what God's doing. That's what's going to matter. That's what's going to make a difference in your own journey. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing your tail and you never really get to what's in your house. You're going to be chasing what's in everybody else's house. Anyway, go ahead, Sonia.
I love this conversation.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. And I have to say, I've loved everything that you've all shared because it's touched on my journey of knowing who I am. In Christ is the language that I first used. Knowing who I am as God has been a deeper, more personal journey. And I haven't had a place to share that or to give voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in community where I had to bow down and worship the programming and the God that was present there. And it was, quote unquote, a minister. It was, quote unquote, the spiritual leader. And I had to bow in my spirit, like it was almost forced. I had to acknowledge. And at that time, I saw it as negative. But now I see it in the frame of honor, in the frame of, I can recognize that in you. I can appreciate that in you. I can even love that facet of you. And in this community in particular, I feel that. I experience it. I get to be who I am here, and I get to move it and be and still be still with you and hear you, sense you, feel you, and enjoy being with you. I don't have the separation experience. I don't have the fracturing experience. I don't have the dissociating experience. I have the yes. I can just rest. I can be here. I can listen. You have wisdom. You have light. You have love. You have kindness. You have the goodness. You have all the gifts of the Spirit, but yet you also shine. Your light is unique to you. You're a fractal of the light of the universe that is within you, that is God. And I enjoy it. I enjoy experiencing that light of who you are. And as I'm listening, I was experiencing that I no longer had any arguments in my head, that I no longer had a thought that came against anything you said or shared, or I had no duality sense whatsoever. It was amazing. I only had story. Oh yeah, I've experienced that. Oh yeah, I understand that. Okay, that's a cool one. I haven't heard that one before. It was amazing. It's been amazing just to hear this conversation. And I feel this fullness in my belly with you. I feel this immense warmth in my heart and a vibration that is like getting warmer and bigger and taller and higher in my spirit, just listening and being with you, having this conversation as you share where you're at and where you're from and your perspective, but yet also where you're grounded. I love this. So that to me is knowing you are God, and not just a thought, not just a framework of words or language, but knowing, experiencing, feeling of, and with. And I can say clearly too, when someone is very much in a Luciferian mindset and very much in a Luciferian framework, they are against themselves. They are against everyone else. I can say I know what that is too. And I've experienced that. And it is hard. It is hard to be with that. It's hard to want to share space with that. I'll admit that. I do have more tolerance and capacity to do it now because I'm stronger and rooted in love. I'm stronger and rooted in honor and grace, especially grace. But I know that I would lose myself in that. There's language I could use. I won't go into it, but it is interesting because there is that. There's acknowledging that Luciferian mindset and framework. And I know I don't want anybody to take over my space or push me out of my being or push me out of being rooted and grounded in who I am. And I do experience that in that framework. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say and share.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that. That is a beautiful place to be, that when we're free, we're so comfortable and confident in who we are that we can love everyone and everything around us, even when it's not aligned with what we believe God is doing, because we know that everybody's on their journey. And now sometimes for safety's sake, you may have to remove yourself from, certain situations or people. But at the same time, that underneath whatever somebody might be doing that is not so kind or loving, that underneath that there is a kind and loving person. There is a spirit that God has given to them. Yeah. Love that. Thank you, Sonia. All right, Jeanette, go ahead.
Hello. I'm just
Hello.
trying to stay warm. I just wanted to comment on when we were talking about the programming. Myself, as I'm working through programming from way back, it's like I'm noticing that certain things will trigger. That it'll bring up a memory, like a smell or something I'm looking at, and all of a sudden there's that programming that kicks in. And what I noticed, Gil, the other day when I showed you my handwriting, I don't know what I was showing you, but it was the handwriting. And I could tell that you said it reminded you of your mother's handwriting. And
That's
for
right.
me, if something like that, just even something like that, a handwriting will bring up those, the triggers of the programming, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to say that.
All right.
Love you
Thank you,
all.
Jeanette. Yeah. Yeah, that programming, it is kind of surreal at times when we're just living life, right? Doing our daily whatever, and something just jumps out at you and you just recognize it powerfully as programming. Because, yeah, when Jeanette showed me, she was just going over a list of things and she wanted me to look at it with her. And as I looked at it, I like something stirred in me and it took me a moment to process it. And then it was just like, oh, that that reminds me of my mother's handwriting. It looked very much like my mother's handwriting. And for me, thankfully, there wasn't anything negative in there, not anything. It was actually heartwarming just to see this handwriting of my mother who's passed, 4 or 5 years ago. But I just thought that was interesting, just the programming that welled up. And it's like, oh, interesting. Yeah, and it's like we can become more and more aware as we're waking up, we become more and more aware of all the programming that we're covered in. And ideally, as we just get into the flow of letting go, we can let go of that programming and go deeper and deeper into who we really are. And again, deeper and deeper into who we really are, not necessarily into another program, because there's a lot of them out there. And I feel like the programs are designed to have you jump from one program to another program versus just operating in your freedom and just being and making choices, as an agent of the universe. And just anyway, a lot of stuff we're going through right now. I mean, it's good stuff. We're all going through changes as God is doing what He's doing for our humanity. Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because I think your statement of finding your flow, entering that flow, and vibrating at that flow, but it's not a but. That's the wrong way to say that. We need a language for that flow. Some of us find that language in the Hebrew letters, the Hebrew word, Hebrew understanding. Some of us find that flow in our galactic language, or our native. For you, Sonia, you've brought a language of Native American culture, to this group, and I love that. So I think as we are awakening and we find that tribe and or that vibe that we resonate with, that's important. And again, this is a group that's trying to bring a collective together, to be honest. If I understand, Gil, what you're moving towards, but it is freedom, right? That's what we focused on right now. We've got the name of things is freedom, but again, what does freedom look like? What is freedom really saying? And I think we've all expressed it, because in whatever language that we're using, we're finding that place that we can rest, that we find peace, that we experience joy. I think those are core aspects of that. And when we find it, it's like, I'll just point out Sheila. She is into the galactic language, and she's turned me on to that language. And the more that you spend time with it, you see, oh, that exactly fits with what I'm learning through my Hebrew experience. I'm always drawn to the Native American, even though for years my family, I think there is some Native American in me, but my DNA test did not show any. So it really hurt my spirit for a little bit, but I do think it's there. I just think that I found out later on, this one was ancestry.com, but I found out that they haven't really gotten everything narrowed in enough to be able to pull out those minute things. Because I literally have she'd be my great grandmother, with her last name was Blood, and everybody said that she was a pretty much a Native American person. But anyways, going back to living in the flow, Gil, is what we're trying to do and what we're trying to experience. And bringing language together into a place like this is beautiful, allows us to express them in so many different ways. Honestly, and again, I know you've made comment of it. If a Luciferian possibly showed up, we might be able to at least have a conversation. Why and how and what was that all about? Because I've done that myself, not so much with the Luciferian that I don't know of, but I have with atheists. I've had a couple atheists in my Uber, and we've had beautiful conversations because I can sense it's just a place of their journey that they don't know what to believe, so they've chosen to believe that, right? And again, I don't think, well, I do think there are the good paths and not so good paths, but perhaps there is a reason for some of those other paths. And again, we have brought on a person who believes in, homosexuality and things, and we've all had a beautiful conversation with her. And I still, I would love and honor that. And I learned some things from that conversation. But I still am a person who probably don't believe that is really a overall healthy path or an overall, whatever. And she shared her struggles with, her journey. So again, I think we all can have our journey and struggle that we would share, no matter what path we're on. Right. The church journey has had some real traumas, involved with it. So, I'll stop there. I see Sonia. But I also want to encourage Lacey. I keep seeing you shake your head and stuff, and you always have such beautiful expressions. So when you're ready, I'm not pushing anything on you, but when you're ready, please step up. I love to hear your voice. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Larry. And that is what we're, my heart's desire is to see a multitude of other type of beliefs, people with different beliefs come here and share their thoughts, their ideas, and how they see the world and the universe. That's my heart for this, and I would love to see that. So if anybody, again, who's listening, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or here, if you've got other people, then bring them on, invite them here. We're not looking for arguments. We're not looking for that. We're just looking for ability to be able to express different points of views without feeling, like, well, they're shooting down my point of view. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, share your point of view, and it may be different than somebody else's, but you don't have to diss somebody else's point of view for all that. And so, Sheila, I see your hand, but I got Sonia and Lacey ahead of you, so I'll come back to you. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Sonia, go ahead.
I think that's one of the things I love most about this community, Gil, is that you established that right from the get-go. That's part of the foundation. And we get to, sorry, a call was coming through. We get to really share our journeys. And being in the safety of this community has allowed me to hear and integrate bits of my story in my journey. And in my personal integration, the first bit of my journey was experiencing integration of my whole human spirit and who I am as a human spirit, as a living spirit. That was the beginning of
Yeah.
all of this journey. And in the process, I actually got to meet the other gods because they had real estate to my being. And so I
Hmm.
experienced that. So taking back some of that real estate from those gods, I did. I honestly did.
Mm-hmm.
So and I've met a good pantheon of gods, and I don't just mean the Greek gods or the Roman gods. Like I really truly have. And yet, as a First Nations human spirit, I also came back to that true integration. That is my bloodline, and there is
Mm-hmm.
royalty within it that I needed to integrate and embody and express here in
Love
the
that.
earth. Yeah. And the spirituality that went with it was fully integratable with Christ. It was not separate from Christ. Fully.
Can't be.
Uh-uh. No. And it was Yeshua who gave me the lessons of the eagle together.
Mm.
And I have immense, amazing story of integrating the eagle spirit with him. We did some work with the thunder spirit. We did some work with the sky gods. We did some, I mean, I have a lot of amazing story that I've shared in
Love
Journey
that.
with Yeshua.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because he really truly is like, has been the role, the one who played the role, or the one who, how do we want, manifested for me real true integration. Grow through the
Yeah.
DNA, the RNA. Ooh, the RNA is something
Mm.
else. I tell you, love that journey, and the whole of my being. So when I'm walking here and I'm in community with you, all my cells vibrate it, and I share that
Mm.
resonance with you.
Mm. Love that.
And I personally can say I don't have alien DNA. I can personally say that from experience, but I have been so honored to love those who have. Those who've
Mm-hmm.
had Pleiadian DNA, those who've had different alien DNA, not knowing fully what I was experiencing and witnessing within their being. And then once awareness came clear, discernment came clear, I'm like, wow, wow, they're among us. They're
Yeah.
here. They're living among us. And so I've had like just amazing journey
Mm-hmm.
stories. And I'm thankful for the First Nations discernment because it is, I mean, primary, we witness spirit first. Primary, we speak spirit language first. Primary, we recognize spirit symbolism first. It's just primary. It's so
Yeah.
innate. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. You know, and you bring in the alien part up. It's like I have to have some of you kind of remind me that we need to have one of these discussions on aliens. And I'll be honest, it's like my ego says, "Oh, hell no." And yet there's the spirit inside that says, "What do you know?" It's like, how do I don't have proof either way. So who am I to say? That's kind of been my thing for years. It's just like, we don't know. So who am I to be the judge of others who believe this or that? And that's why I like listening and hearing other points of view. And again, it doesn't mean any of us have to agree with them, but I know that's a topic that many of you on here are very into. And having Nicholas there at the Pearl, he loves that stuff. He's talking about it all the time, and he has shifted me. Yeah, he has shifted me. So I'm more and more curious about it all the time. So and yet and at the same time, it's like I don't disbelieve it. I say this all the time. I don't disbelieve it. I just haven't had anything to really draw me to pursue any more information in that area. But at the same time, others may be. So go for it. But my only thing I keep backing up because I have to watch myself on this is don't get drawn into another container or another box. Make sure that if you're pursuing something, you're pursuing it because it's bringing life to you here, and that you're not just taking on somebody else's agenda. because that's what we tend to do is we jump into, you know, the church box or other box, whatever kind of box, and with it comes that person or that group's agenda, that now you're following that versus being true to yourself and following what's in here. So it's about freedom, your freedom to be free, to be who you are meant to be. And I believe that when we're around other people who have that same idea, then we all get to be free. And that's the beautiful journey that we're on, I think. All right, Lacey, go ahead. Thank you, Sonia. Beautiful.
Loving this. I'm still very much in the midst of what I was pondering, but this is really good. I love just what Sonia was saying. And when you were just sharing about just all of creation, other beings out there, you know, I at least for where I'm at, I just see it as all family. Even what we see as darkness or stages in the process that maybe certain beings are in, and maybe agreements they've made that are dark, you know. I just see the redemption in it all, and I see the light, and I see that, oh my God, it's all family. It's all family, and I just want to connect with my family, and I love them, and just something else Larry mentioned in the beginning about I don't know how he described it exactly, but something about how we are there's a universe inside of us, and that it's part of the, you know, God is big universe in oneness. Like, I don't know how he described it, but it was just so resonated with how I felt it experientially of just that aspect of it. And something I was thinking about, it's a little more personal, but when you were talking about hearts and ego, shadow stuff, and when it comes to even density, and you were talking about agreements, how you can see parts or fractals as like agreements, and it makes me wonder just where I'm at in my process, where I might feel limited just because maybe I don't look like I've progressed in certain things from family and certain, just where I'm at in this process and journey. And it's like I want to be and continue into being and resting and discovering who I am, but then I integrating that with into like a job or like and not wanting to do it like a corporate job or anything. And I'm noticing where there is ego, perhaps ego, if it counts as fear and old things, you know, maybe my parts had agreement in. And it just makes me curious on that, because I notice where it's like, am I limiting myself, or am I just really is there a part of me that still feels or agreed to just in the nervous system, even feeling afraid of just oversensitivity to like how I used to experience it when I used to be in regular work and job, you know. I really don't want to, but it's curious though on my journey, like of like, okay, doesn't mean it's bad though, but I'm curious about agreements and parts, you know, with that. So it's just got me thinking.
Well, you're in one of the authenticity groups, and so you're in the right place. We're going to get into a lot of that. But the other thing too, just I'll say up front, is give yourself permission to be content where you're at in the moment.
Yeah.
And not to feel like you got to push yourself and try to be something that you're not in the moment. But just every time you realize you're kind of in that place where you're contemplating and wondering, if is this the right thing, or have I done the right thing? Am I in the right place? Am I thinking the right way? Just stop. Remember the 3 parts: stop, take a breath, and just let that go for the moment. Because once your mind gets wound up in trying to figure everything out, then it just usually is not necessarily a good spiral. But when you just are able to breathe and relax into the universe, into the trust of God, into the hands of God, when you relax and do that, then it's like, wow, the answers start to come, and it's as if you're not even trying. It's like, whoa, yeah, that's the place to be. It's a good place.
So good. And that reminds me of the allness, like in us, of like just this subject of like, he's in, like we're one, living, experiencing. So good. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Lacey. All right, Deneen, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, morning, evening,
We were
Right.
waiting
wherever
for
you
Sheila
are,
to wake up.
wherever you are in this universe. Um, I, wh- my belief system is that if I stick to what I've experienced in my sharing, I have no, um, I have no need for ego to step in, no place for it to step in. If I only talk about what I've experienced, and it has nothing to do with all things that exist to experience, but when I stick to what I have experienced, I have a wealth of and a weightiness of things and gems to give. Because when I'm listening to, when I'm sharing what I've heard or what I believe instead of what I know, what I've read, what all of that, it really causes me to become defensive when I have an opposing opinion or a statement, and that's because I I'm not settled with the information. But when I'm clear on what I've experienced, it doesn't matter what you say. You know, it
Right.
doesn't bother me at
Right.
all
Right.
because I'm just giving you what I have. It's my experience. And if you oppose it, you know, it's it's not personal for me. It's like, oh, okay, you know, so it that really gives me a place to be really at peace and so settled. And when I think about aliens, I think of things that I just don't, or beings that I don't understand. You know, it
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be an
Yep.
angel, it could be a demon, it could be some astral being from another realm or universe. It doesn't matter. But an alien, it covers so much. So aliens, I believe, actually do exist. I don't have to define it. And that's because that's not where what I've been put here to discuss. I don't have to dance on every
Right.
set, like
Right.
my grandmother said. You know, when it's a set that if when it's a set I'm not familiar with, I just observe and allow people who have danced
Come
there
on.
or are comfortable dancing there, let them. And for
Right.
me, the biggest growth is to observe, and then it's now added to my experiences, right? So it's just
Yeah.
a continuum, and that continuum, with an attitude of just accepting what has been revealed to me, it actually is for me, it is like a place of pure blessing where I experience love. I'm able to love you because I am now connected with my authentic self.
That's
You
good.
know, my
Yeah.
authentic self is right there in the place of just accepting where I am, who I am, and how I am. Whatever that may be, and it is subject to evolve as I continue. And so really, I know that may sound woo-woo or whatever, I don't know if it does or doesn't, but my prayer is that it's able to resonate and be understood, even not necessarily, it doesn't have to be accepted, but just understood in the vein that I'm presenting that statement. I'm choosing
It's
today
good.
to speak only when I'm spoken to um,
Mm.
spiritually.
Mm.
And naturally, not all the time. I have more I have more to say when when it's just us talking, right? But all of us here. But yeah, that's it for me. Peace and
Love that.
blessings, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Deneen. Thank you. And I'm with you. It's like I actually do. I'd say I 100% believe that there are other beings out there. I just can't imagine there not being other beings out there. Um, for me, just the evidence of them interacting with us here, for me, it's just for me. I don't, I don't, I don't. It doesn't resonate with me, and so, but I see that it resonates with others, and I don't want to close off a area of life in the universe that I just, I just don't get. That's my thing. It's not a bad, it's not a good. It's just my thing. In the sense that, like Janine said, I'm not necessarily designed for that right here, right now. But it doesn't mean that things could change. I can tell you, when I was a kid, I remember so strongly looking up in the stars and just praying for aliens to come take me away. I wanted it so badly, and never happened. But anyway, Sheila, go ahead. You're muted still. There you go. Oh, you were off, and there you go.
Okay. I thought you really nailed it, Gil, when you said, when we don't try, it just comes. And and I wanted to comment also on so much of Jeanette's her conversation had so many of the words that she was choosing just in so many different things. She talked about am, be, have, not try and do. Her entire conversation was very much in that center place. So I guess I wanted to comment about freedom and how it all ties together from my vantage point. And my vantage point on that is the difference between trying and being, because I've been told very clearly, stop trying. You're getting in your own way. Stop trying. And
Right.
that really corresponds to, we try with our head brain and we be with our heart brain. And I remember when I was you were first teaching me, Gil, years ago, how to ascend and all that. And I was, miraculously brought into you. Father came to my bedside and presented as, he didn't look like a human being, but he was talking to me. And he said, you've got to stop using your head brain and start using your heart brain. And at the time, I didn't even know my heart had a brain, let alone how to use it. And so in my journey, I've continued to really focus on that, to learn more and more how to be in my heart brain and stay there. Even, and that is freedom, because if you stop, what's a vacation? It's when you quit trying to fit in everybody's boxes. You're on vacation, you just let yourself be.
Good.
And that's really what we want. But it's in that space where everything else can be opened up. So I know I had my first, actually I'll just share this quickly. Yesterday I had my first experience with a strategy Dolores Cannon talked about. It was beyond quantum healing. And at the beginning of it, you write down all the questions you have, your big questions. And of course, every single one of those questions was answered, by the way. But it took me 15 minutes and they kept saying, get out of your head, get out of your head. And I was trying to get out of my head and I couldn't get out of my head. But finally, when I ended up in my heart, then everything started coming just so fast. So as far as the, just to touch on two things I want to comment on, it's true, Larry, the databases of these current things, they don't have Indian in them. They really want to discourage the Native American focus because it's so powerful. So they don't even want you to know you're part of that. And I know that's absolutely true because I'm part Cherokee. My grandfather even showed me how to walk in a forest without making sound, all this stuff. I've got the photographic downline. My grandchildren went through those things. They don't show any Cherokee at all. That's impossible. Absolutely impossible. So I know they're not accurate, and it is so vitally important. And regarding the galactics, I will say this. Now, I'm not making any kind of judgments or anything, but I think some people have allowed heaven to be a box and the heavenlies to be just another box. But there are so many places. And the transition space for me that I'll share for people who can't get out of the heaven box yet is to ask to be taken to your heart garden in the heavenlies. because the heart garden, I learned, and when you go there, everybody has it all, it's individual. All your favorite flowers are there, your favorite tree, everything about you. But it's really an analog for your heart. And when you learn, so you can start there, and then that just has to be shown your heart space, and then start to bring your consciousness into your heart space and allow yourself to be. Then you'll start being taken into these other realms. And there are many, and the galactics are definitely there. And they're very involved with us right now. I have to tell you, I know you guys know I do a lot of work directly for Father. And he's these meetings with the Galactic Alliance and the Earth Alliance, and they're made up of humans, angelics, and galactics. They're three separate types of beings, but they're all represented there. And Jesus incarnated as a galactic Sananda, and he's the captain of the New Jerusalem mothership. And I've been on it many, many times. And I can tell you for a fact that's true. So it might be beyond people's awareness, but I'm telling you, that is my experience. And I would never try to mislead anyone. Regarding the epistemology of being able to perceive one reality versus another, I have been taught on that, and I can share it, but I think it's beyond the scope of where we are right now. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We started talking about, things from a oneness perspective and integration, right? And there's this beautiful identity or confined energy or form, and I look at, I'm starting to like the word form. I used to use the confined energy a lot, but I'm starting to like the word form better, that, God is in the form of Larry and in the form of Sheila and in the form of Gil, and that the galactic is in the form, that God is in the form of the galactic. It's not separate then. I just choose to believe that there is no separation, that you can't be a separate anything. Even in a different universe, you're still in God. And so as I've been contemplating this, there's a part of me that is in a process of integrating even the mind, because I agree with you, Sheila. The heart is a space and the place we need to work from, because the mind is very cluttered from the programming of this world that wants to create the illusions or the delusions and so forth, and the lies and so forth. But the heart is got more of a direct access to the garden of the heart, the heavenlies, godly, and that but that eventually the beauty, the most integrated, powerful beauty of me as a human being is to have the mind cleared and integrated so that there's a heart and mind that is going at the same time, that there's a beauty of the integration of the two. But this has got to be cleared, and there's a ton of programming out there. So anyway, because I mean, that's the full being, the full being of me is my entire body, not pieces and parts, but that everything would be integrated together. But I'm with you. I'm not there. I got way too much programming going on still. So, all right, Deneen, and then I think we'll wrap up this portion, and you guys will move on with Larry into the afterburn. So go ahead, Deneen.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I personally have an assurance that the heart and the mind, even though these two members of our body appear to be not operating simultaneously, are already united and integrated. And even though we have been made aware of some interference in our intellect, that now that we're aware of it, it will dissolve. It's the unawareness of it that keeps it from moving into the truth. Once you know the truth ultimately makes you free. And however, and time is and with God is so different than the way we equate time or we measure time. And so it doesn't matter how long it is. It already is. Our members are already working together simultaneously, has been since we have been birthed in this form. And whether we recognize it or not, it's not going to change that reality. Let one part of me start, dysfunctioning or malfunctioning or even attempting to cease to exist, and watch how off or how much longer I may not last in this form. So whether or not I'm aware or not aware, if we start being still, I believe, and listening to the truth, like you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a theologian, you don't have to be a neurosurgeon, but just listening to the truth, you'll understand it. And you don't have to have the language of the modern day times, because we're always evolving and trying to be so correct and non-offensive or whatever and integrative. But if we just sit still, I believe that at the appointed time, whoever I'm speaking to will be able to understand what I'm saying. So I don't have to try, like Sheila. I just have to be. And when I be, then everything manifests itself. And I don't even like thinking of words. I'm not all that happy with that word at this moment. But everything's is starting to become more clear to us what is actually going on, what is actually happening. And we don't have to have fear, which is, a hindrance to that development about it, or anxiety. Just be, and it will show itself ultimately, whatever it is that we're looking for. Oh gosh.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deneen. Thank you.
Yeah, no
All right.
problem.
Well, love and blessings to each and every one of you. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, if you want to be part of the Afterburn, go over to the website and at gilhodgesfreedom.com and look for the gathering, and you can jump on there and join the Afterburn, which these guys are going to keep going here on Zoom, and we're going to sign off on the rest of everything. So, Ginger, I saw you just saying bye to everybody. All right, all right. Okay, love you all. I will see you later, and you carry on with Larry on the Afterburn. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.